every day you essentially pay your dues by doing the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. All right. Hello, friends. This will be a smaller session because we're in the middle of the day and people are working and it's totally okay. Steven, what's going on?
Not much you?
Yeah, man, nothing. I'm just very, very busy in a good way, but very, very busy. So just kicking it. How are you?
Great to hear. I'm well. I'm well. Thanks for the I actually got a shout out on Facebook. I didn't realize that you had cut my clip and put it on social media.
It was so good. We had you, man. You were like at a perfect roadmap for people who are trying to get into the strength conditioning stuff. And so, yeah, Becky slacked me right away and she was like, "This is incredible. Steven's so nice. We have to put this up." So I put it up, not thinking you would mind. So,
Oh no, that was awesome. Like it was just funny. A friend of mine from Alberta shouted me out on it and I was like, whoa, had no idea.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Anyways, so yeah, I have two things I want to share, and then we can make this quick if people don't have questions. But two things that are on my mind from the clinic this week that I want to share with people. So one is this is for obviously the people in the Zoom, and then everybody else who will hear this after. I can't tell you how many new evaluations I've had in the last 2 weeks from new back pain, new wrist pain, ankle pain, like mid-season. Shane, what's up, buddy? From new injuries, because here in the States we're in the middle of season and championships are upon us, and I think everyone is getting a little tired, a little excited, a little of all the things. And so I also had about 4 messages from people in HQ asking about what can I do for back pain with this girl who's in the middle of her season, or what can I do for this. So my best advice to people who are listening to this is you have to be so strategic and meticulous about how you plan what you're doing throughout the week, right? You cannot just do 45 minutes of beam series. You cannot just do 45 minutes of just jumping and doing your hardest difficulty skills. You can't do 45 minutes of jumps and leaps for rhythmic people, right? This is not going to go well because you're going to blow out their back, right? Or their shins or their knees. So a lot of athletes are teetering on the edge in the middle of season in terms of injury starting or fatigue or all that kind of stuff. So look at your week, whether it's 2 days or 7 days, right? And break down, hopefully it's not 7 days, it's 6 days, but look at how many days you're on the events that you're on, how many routines you feel you have to do to be ready for the meets that you're doing, and how many, what's the minimal effective dose that you can do to be ready for those things, right? It doesn't matter whether it's compulsory or whether it's international elite, right? If you know that you think 3 routines on this event are what you feel and the athletes feel they're ready to be prepared on, don't do 5, right? Don't do 3 and get to 1 more and be like, you know what, well, we have more time, we're going to do 2 more, because it starts to add up junk mileage pretty quick. And I think for people who are, I think it comes from a little bit of a nervous situation of like, oh my God, we need to do more. We need to get more. We need to get more. But there's a very sharp return on investment after a few routines or 3, for example, on certain events that you start to tip over into exhaustion. And then you start making errors when you're fatigued, and those errors become mental things because now you know your last routine, you had an error versus your first 2, you didn't. So I would really encourage people to sit down with your staff, sit down with a team after you sit down with your staff and plan what are we going to attack the next 3 or 4 sessions with, because of, here where I'm at, it's like states, the regionals, the nationals, or I know you guys have different timelines and stuff, but everyone who's trying to scramble a little bit right now, I think is where things are going to be a little bit concerning. So break those things down and try to figure out how many routines we need to do for corrections and skills, how many of those you need to do, and try to really be diligent about sticking to that. Don't just let that kind of wiggle open-ended in the other way. Vice versa, you have to actually train to get ready for your routines. There's a couple rare situations where people are disappointed with their performances because they only do a few things throughout the week and like, oh, we'll just chuck it in the competition. Like, we'll see how it goes. She's a gamer, right? Like somebody told me that in an email. Like she's a gamer. She'll turn it on at the meet. And I was like, I'm telling you, it's a terrible strategy to bank on. So for most people, I think somewhere in the 2 to 3 range is probably good for routines and stuff, depending on the event, right? 3 or 4 routines is very different than 3 pommel horse routines. So be careful with that. But that's the first thing I wanted to share. The second thing I wanted to share is I can't disclose who or what I was consulting with. It's private, but I had a lot of very high level consulting stuff going on the last 2 weeks. And I'm advising people significantly to get a head start on their strength and conditioning program for the summer right now. So it's in the middle of March and we have a couple more months to get through for most people. But after the hardest meet that you guys have, whether that's next month or 2 months, 2 weeks, you should try to buffer for almost completely off. If you still want to be in the gym, just make it very fun, very casual. But I would highly recommend 2 full weeks of doing nothing. 1 week, ideally, they're with their family being a kid, and you can go have a well-deserved vacation after a hard season. I personally think 2 weeks is what you need. You need 1 week for your body and 1 week for your brain to catch up. So that's what I would recommend. But in that time, when you come back in the first transitional period is like the biggest golden opportunity to get them stronger and get them used to new strength conditioning. If you want to make big changes to your strength program, your conditioning program, your flexibility program, your drill circuits, your all that kind of stuff, that has to happen in May, right? Probably May or early June. That's exactly why we put the symposium in early June, for that reason, to help people out. But we want to make sure that's set up now. The biggest mistake that people made last year is I got emails from people and asked for consulting calls in July about like, hey, we're interested in changing our strength program. Would you mind helping us out? Or, hey, we want to change the way we approach our drill work or our skill work or something. And by the time you learn it in July, it's the end of July before you implement it. And then it's August. And then you're looking at the next season already, right? And obviously it's flipped for our international friends on the other side of the world. But if you want to have a successful next year where you are right now, so next March, next April, next May, which is what a lot of the college programs that I was working with were asking about, the opportunity is from May to July. So you have to really be ahead of your game there. So that's would be my advice. So if you don't work with a strength conditioning coach, reach out in the group and find people who are in your area or people who are maybe around virtual. I know Dan Lonsdale does a lot of stuff. He would be open to it. There's so many amazing strength conditioning coaches that were gymnasts and are now in gymnastics, strength conditioning, and they want to help. I'm sure they could afford the extra few bucks of money, and you could afford to have somebody come in and do what would maybe take you 16 hours to plan and program and put together. They could probably do it in a half hour because they've done it so many times. So get a strength and conditioning coach that you believe in and that you want to work with. Number two is use the templates that we have available. So the yearly planning templates, the monthly planning templates, all that kind of stuff. Take a Saturday, right, when maybe you don't have a meet, or take a Friday when it's a low-key practice and give the kids something easy to do, have them play a game, have them relax, and just take an hour or two, pay your staff to stay there an extra hour. Eva and I used to pay I didn't pay, but Eva and our other director used to pay them to stay. They'd get some food. We'd have, whatever. We'd have like water and stuff for them to hang out with, and we'd sit there for 2 hours and we would work on our strength program. So hire a strength coach or look into a strength coach. Download the templates now. Go back and listen to the lectures that we have for how to plan the year, how to plan the summer off-season strength and conditioning, find the podcast, whatever you need, and sit down and physically print those templates out and fill them in. Not that that's going to be what you do, but you need a first draft. You need to start somewhere. You need to have a working template. Take that and then bring that to your staff and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Does this work? Does this not? And then you can kind of tweak and change things in April. And then that way in May, you can really hit the ground running. You'll have time to look at the exercises. You'll have time to talk to me and ask questions in the group. You'll have time to really get your ducks in a row, and then you can hit the ground running in May. And I promise you, the work you do right now, from the first 2 weeks in May to those first 2 weeks in June that you have it, the last 2 weeks and the first 2 weeks in June, you will get more out of the first 4 to 6 weeks of a strength and conditioning program in May and June than you will get in any other time of the entire year. I absolutely promise you that. If you wait around and sit on your hands, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. So yeah, again, I don't like to share who I'm working with or what I'm doing with, but I can promise you it's two very, very high level Division I programs and elite program that are all asking the exact same question. And I'm going to tell everyone in this group the exact same thing, which is what I told them, which is 1 to 2 days of lifting, 1 to 2 days of gymnastic strength and conditioning, 1 prehab day, some sort of daily gymnastics work every single day in the warm up through lines or basics or Nick's daily dozen, 2 cardio circuits of the week in circuit form, and then having 1 day where you have that prehab wellness. And also the third piece is try to work or find a sports physio, an athletic trainer, a sports chiropractor, anybody who can do a movement screen with your coach and with whoever else is involved. Get that into those 2 weeks when you're slowly ramping back up, right? When I work in the gym, I take 2 full days and I only run movement screens, right? I can cheat because I'm a coach and a gymnastics medical provider, but the best money you can ever spend, it will probably cost you $800. If I was really being honest, $800. And you can split that with your parents maybe, or you can build that into the cost. But to pay for the hours for 1 coach and 1 medical provider to do a joint screen, and we have the form in the drive, which you guys can check out, and you can use my exact screening process to have every kid go through a 30-minute screen and break down what they need in their own assessments and how they're going to get the strength in the summer. That the combination of starting early from May to June and having a movement screen that drives what you're doing, I will literally pay you back the money if it doesn't benefit you. I will pay you from shift. I will pay you back the money if it doesn't benefit you over the summer and the next year. I have never worked with a program who didn't do it and it didn't be beneficial. So that's kind of my big 3 rocks of literally what I told someone yesterday. I talked to their entire strength and conditioning staff, their entire medical staff. and their entire coaching staff. And I said, if I was going to die on a hill, these are the 3 things I would tell you to do. I would tell you to start right now and plan in May and June. I would tell you to get a strength and conditioning coach and a medical provider involved to help do your screens. And I would also try my best to plan out the days of the week, the days of the month that you're going to work on in the summer, because from a health point of view, that's when you have the biggest return on investment that you can make, is those first 4 to 6 weeks. But from a competitive point of view, I want everyone to win and just be healthy. But from a competitive point of view, everyone else is sleeping during those 6 weeks. Everybody else in your region, everybody else is home. Obviously, athlete buy is big, but if you want to try to crush next year, this program was talking about nationals and national qualifiers. But if you want to crush compulsory states next year, and everybody else is going to be sleeping for the next 6 weeks. So that is all I had in my mind. I'm starting to write down notes during meetings and consulting work about what I want to tell the group and what I want to share with the thousands of people that we have in here, because I'd rather just feed this information once per month to you guys instead of waiting 6 months for it to come out in a podcast or a lecture. That's kind of the goal of these office hours. So those are the things that I wrote down in my notes, and I saved them in a binder, and I'll just keep sharing with everybody what I think is coming down the pipeline. So you guys have kind of early jump on that. But that's all I really have. That's the only, we can make it a short little chat if people don't have questions, but that is all I really had in my mind for this last month, unless somebody else has questions.
Just kind of give you an update. I know last time I was on there, I was talking about that girl that was potentially going to become a senior.
Yeah.
Well, we had a virtual meet, and she is now officially senior.
Hey,
so
congrats, man. That's amazing.
And working towards teams. So again, thank you. You mentioned in your point 1 about the templates.
Yeah.
All of my yearly planning instruments, my YPIs, all have now taken what I had before and incorporated your templates right into them.
Oh.
It's so much simpler. When I meet with parents and I pull up the Excel spreadsheet and I go from tab to tab to tab, they see the big picture for 8-year cycle, even 12-year cycle, down to each cycle, what we're focused on, all the way through down to a daily focus.
Awesome.
So anybody that's out there thinking, should I or shouldn't I, do it. It will it clears the way. You get all your homework done, and it leaves you free to do the actual thing that you love to do, which is coach.
Yeah. Which is crazy too, is like, I think people are like, oh my God, I don't have 5 to 10 hours to put into that. But like, you're going to save 100 hours in the summer, not running around living by the seat of your pants on a whiteboard, trying to plan strength and drills.
Yep.
Would you mind sharing the, whatever people were just talking about, the guidelines that you have? Would you mind posting that in HQ and like maybe the mix and mingle or something like that, if you're okay with that?
I just posted the article because Nathan asked me to, so I did that. What specifically are you wanting? The guidelines for parents?
Yeah, that article that you were mentioning, or I think that is a really valuable article. And then if you had the guidelines you were going to share with Andrea, because after Eva's podcast, we had a lot of questions about that. So maybe just like 2 separate posts and mix and mingle, 1 for each. That'd be phenomenal because we can reference that back. And then also, let me think of the date of planning. It'll work. Yeah, we're going to put this out later. But Kim Shore from Gymnastics Canada came on and we did like an epic 2.5-hour podcast, which is coming out this week. And so that will be a further conversation starter around a lot of cultural change stuff. So I'd love to have those things up for people to reference if you're okay with it.
Awesome. I will do so.
Nate, buddy, how are you? How are things going?
It's struggling, to be honest.
What's up? How can we help?
Yeah, well, you got states coming up in about a month or so, and out of 15, 16 kids, I think I've got maybe 2 that are 100% healthy.
Oh, sorry, man.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of just like freak injuries, like getting hurt snowboarding or hopping off the beam, rolling an ankle, working on stuff at home and hurting the wrist, that kind of stuff. But
brutal, man.
Also got a whole bunch of like early onset Osgoods, some severs, and shin splints. Had one girl who had shin splints, and we were trying to take it easy, but it progressed all the way to stress fractures in the shins.
Jeez.
And she's been out for the last couple of weeks, and really hoping that she'll be able to make it back for states, but not sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, so, but like, it's kind of put me into a retrospective kind of state of mind. And I've been kind of looking back. We did the hybrid stuff. I actually brought home like all the folders and stuff back here.
Yeah, boy. There you go.
To start working on the new stuff for the summer. And like, I know the girls have been getting stronger because I see it in the ones that were working really hard. but at the same time, like all these like stress related injuries, I've been trying to think back, okay, are they like, was it a spike in workload? That one I'm still like, okay, maybe there was a little bit of spike. Is it taking too many turns? Definitely not. If anything, they could probably take a few more turns, but maybe a little bit more efficient with it. So like the last one I'm coming to is, are they strong enough? And that's where I'm getting hung up on. I don't think that they're quite strong enough for the stuff that they want to be doing.
Sure.
Maybe the technique and basics isn't there. Mine are gold, so they're in 12 hours a week.
Yep.
3 days a week, and
Yep.
so like.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up, man, because the sport is hard and you could have done everything right and you still might have had people mid-season nagging and cracking and stuff like that. Like, trust me, I have some programs that are just like almost by gospel are doing everything that I think is great, and they still just have stuff popping up. So part of it is maybe out of your control, you know, at a bigger picture of the global sport. But I think you're spot on. I think taking that moment to be reflective and be like, all right, what's non-modifiable and what is modifiable? And there's very rarely a situation where getting a little bit stronger and revisiting some of those basic techniques isn't going to help you tenfold down the road. So maybe in those athletes who you separate into, maybe the season is going to come to a close early because of some of these injuries, just start making a program for them. Like, hey, listen, this sucks. I wish we didn't have this situation to deal with, but what are the things that we can use this as an opportunity for? We can sit around for 6 weeks and wait for the end of the season and kind of be bummed about it. Or we can try to fill our time with get that handstand better, get that ankle mobility better, you know, get that whatever, that high bar tap swings, right? If you can only do bars because your ankle's bummed, well, let's have phenomenal handstand basics, let's have phenomenal, tap swings. Let's just like revisit and try to treat it as an opportunity and not a woe is me. This is the end of the world. Everyone else is competing and I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines, because it's hard. It's really hard for an athlete to do that. And as a coach, you're like, oh, damn, what did I miss? Or what did I do wrong? Or like, what am I doing? But sometimes it's just the dice roll in a bad way. You know, I remember there's one year early on at our gym, it was like the second year I was working there, where I'm like the guy, right? I'm supposed to know all the things to prevent back pain and this and that. We had like 4 girls with back injuries. Like none of them had fractures, but they were all out for like 3 months at the end of the season because their backs were so sore. And I spent hours and hours and hours trying to go over what happened, what we did wrong, what we didn't do right or whatever. And, you know, some things where, yeah, maybe we can get better technique, better strength, but we use those 2 months as an opportunity to try to work on all their flexibility, all their basics, all their dance work, all their choreography, learn a new floor routine, like all the things that I wish I had more time to do when it wasn't in the middle of season or when the summer comes around and I want to focus on new skills and the fun stuff. Maybe to try to sit with them and be like, you know, let's use these 4 weeks to our advantage. Obviously, we want to get you back to states if you can do it, but if it's not going to happen, let's try to think about what we can do to be better for the summer.
Okay. Yeah, I try and do like at least 1 day a week of mostly like shaping basics, because they're severely lacking in certain places. And the problem I come up with is I'm constantly having to kind of think on my feet. It's like, okay, these guys can't do anything. So what kind of soft stations can I set up that'll benefit everyone? And
Sure.
like vault's always issue, getting enough space to set up those kind of things. And it does help, but yeah, at the same time, like, are they actually getting prepared? Because I also have like kids who have slightly mental issues about getting to that top speed run.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do we get to that, like running towards a stationary object without actually running towards a stationary object?
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I mean, obviously coaches have so many hats to play because you have, you know, within 15 kids, you can have 4 different subgroups of kids with different, you know, mental things, physical things, technical things. It's hard. It's very, very hard, which is why I have so much respect for anyone who does coach, because it's not easy. It's not easy to shove, let alone the personality differences and making sure you're tailoring to kids' individual, you know, how they receive corrections well and their personality style. It's tough, but like I said, don't be so hard on yourself. Just divide and conquer with the best you can. And when it shakes out, you can pull your head above water, you know, after season ends, and you can probably implement more of that stuff. But for now, like, might just be just getting through day by day, you know, getting through the best you can until you have time to take a step back and really change quite a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really divide too well just because I'm the only coach with
Right.
The group, and we don't do event coaching. It's just like me with them every single place. For like the conditioning, like, yeah, I've got a couple that can probably make it to regionals, and that's beginning of May. But like, when should I be instituting the new lists and sheets that the girls kind of hate, but they need to do anyways?
Yeah, probably I would say after everyone is done. So you can like start to tease like some strength stuff now with girls that are going to finish season early or don't go to regionals and stuff. But it's a nightmare when you stagger shotgun start different groups of different people at different times, right? So we had this problem where we had the compulsories, then we had obviously our girls who maybe did make it to states but not regionals, that made it to regionals but not nationals, and those who made it to nationals, and that's an 8-week span, right, for people. So you can't start everyone on a new program because then you're running around trying to play catch up with everybody. I would say for the next 4 or 6 weeks, try to get everybody through what they're doing now, maintaining their strength, doing new skills if they're not going to make it onto nationals and stuff like that or regionals. But then everybody can start fresh with the day one. Here's a new exercise. Here's how you split squat. Here's how you do a hollow arch tap. Here, you can like everybody goes together. Even if some get more rest and some don't. So yeah, whenever regionals is done, whenever your last meet when the whole team is probably done, I would go plan for 2 weeks from that to try to get your started. And if that's, it means you only have a couple 6-week cycles instead of 3 4-week cycles or 4 4-week cycles, that's fine. That's totally fine. But it's a nightmare to try to start different groups in different pockets at different times. I would do it all together.
Okay. And like lastly about the conditioning, I've been going through, I saved all the sheets and I'm starting to look through some of the stuff that the girls did. So they wrote down like the weights or reps and their RPE. And I was discovering like a lot of them, or at least occasionally they would like, oh, that weight's being used. That's the one I need. Well, I'll just use this random one over here kind of thing. So like they're not actually following it. And like, some of them, yes, the ones that followed it well are getting stronger, but I don't see an overall, like, I feel like they're not doing this conditioning effectively.
Sure.
And so that I think that might be part of the lack of strength because we do like bar strength, we do beam prehab, we do regular conditioning, and I don't know, I'm just not like seeing it as much as like I would expect to.
Yeah. So that's a great common thing we all deal with. And so what needs to happen is when those kind of 2 weeks come where you guys are starting back up, you need to have a conversation. We would always meet with the whole group as a team and talk about like, what do you guys think about the season? What went good? What didn't go great? What would you like to work on? What are your goals as a team? Then we'd break out for 15 minutes and call them over one by one and just talk individually with them and say like, one, how are you? Are you doing okay? Everything okay? Have your goals stayed the same? And then we say like, what do you want for next year? Do you want a new skill? Do you want to move up? Do you want to make it a certain place? Do you want to just have fun? Do you want to not make your back hurt? Like what's your goal? You have to reverse engineer what they want. There's not a single goal they're going to have that doesn't have more strength as part of the solution for their problem. So you kind of like, it's like a little bit of a hat trick, but you're like, yeah, oh, I understand that's a great goal. You want to vault, you want to do this, you want to, your back wants to feel better next season. More strength is really important for that. So we're going to design a program for you. But if you connect what they want to why strength is important, when, you get in the trenches and you have a 40-minute circuit or a 30-minute circuit and you guys are running around trying to set up setups and skills and all that kind of stuff, and they're grabbing the random weight that's not the one they need, and they're kind of going through the motions, kind of, half-assing it, you can just like politely be like, hey, listen, like, remember you said that you have this goal of blank. Every 5% to 10% you skip right here or speed through or skip that rep or use a different weight, those percents add up. And then next year, when we have this conversation again, you're going to be really frustrated maybe because you didn't meet your goal, or you didn't have progress. And, let's try to think about as boring as it is. It's honestly, right? Strength is boring sometimes, as monotonous as it is. Like this is the stuff that most people don't want to do. And this is why most people don't make progress in their skills. So if you want, it's like natural consequences, right? Gretchen Kerr talks about this. If you want to have a different outcome, you need to have a different input, right? That's just the way it is. So I think some kids, you say that to, and they're like, oh, okay. And they literally change nothing. They don't do anything different at all. And they're like, it's like, okay, well, we'll see what happens down the road. Like, don't get mad. Don't get upset. Just like, okay, well, your choices have consequences. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're not favorable. The kids that maybe it sinks in for, they will make that change. And then you'll see as you go down the line, you see some kids that are making that choice will start to get to here, right? And the other ones will kind of just lay here at the same level. And then, who knows? Maybe the girls who are the guys who don't listen and change, they won't care at all. And they're just going through the motions. That's fine. Other people, they'll be frustrated that other people are not in pain and they're making their skills and that they're having the meat of their life next year and stuff. And I think that is an emotional catalyst, or it resonates well for some kids to see other kids who are maybe making those harder choices. So never compare kids, never be mean to them, but just say, okay, this is your choice. You want to not do those rope climbs and you want to not do the heavier weight, that's fine. But we're going to have a conversation in 6 months when we don't have the things that we want and we're really frustrated. So yeah, that'd be my thought.
Well, actually back in January, I gave out a little questionnaire, and the first couple questions were like, okay, what are your goals for next meet? What are your goals for the end of season? What are your goals for the next season? And then some like random kind of like fun things like, okay, like are wombats marsupials, that kind of thing. Just to quiz them on stuff. But that did actually help because I was able to relate some of the stuff back, whether it's like the drills or something like that, back to, okay, what are your goals? And even like with the most boring drills and stuff, I'm constantly telling them, okay, what is this drill for? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And so then I'll explain like not only like, okay, why are we doing this drill, but like also like this is why that skill or that drill relates to the skill and like how this skill works. And this eventually leads to that. Because my whole goal or my whole thought process with coaching is give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So
great.
I try and like teach the girls not only what to do, but why they're doing it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great, man, right? Take pictures of those goal sheets or scan those into your computer and put them in a folder and label them by their name or leave them in their binder. And then every year, every 6 months, when you revisit that goal sheet or something else, like when you have these meetings, so you can sit down for 15 minutes, literally have that goal sheet out and be like, all right, you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Like, did you meet those goals? Yes. Cool. Awesome. Why did you make those goals? What did you do to make, yes, you've got them. Like, why did you achieve those goals? Let's reverse engineer why it went well so we can keep repeating those behaviors and those habits. Are there things that didn't go well? Are there things that you had injuries mid-season? Are there things that maybe you're sad you missed out on? Okay, let's reverse engineer those and figure out what we have to do to be reflective and change that. And then you just keep getting them every 6 months. Like we used to do the same thing every June and every January. Half season, we would check in, and then in June, when our season was done, quote unquote, we would go through all of that and we just keep them in a file, right? We just keep them in a file over and over. It's good. It's good for the athletes to reflect in that moment and fill the sheet out, but it's really good for them to reflect 6 month intervals back to what they had before, then a year back, then a year and a half back, and realize that, what we're trying to teach is that their choices influence that probability or the opportunity of it going well. We can't maximize that someone's going to reach all their goals because they do all the things. But if you want to maximize the outcome of all the things that are in your control, then you have to do all the things in your control to make that influence happen. And so that's what we're trying to teach them is that that's life, right? That's like a natural consequence of life, that no, you don't always get what you want, but if you do the right things consistently, the chances of you doing well and getting the thing that you're interested in is much, much, much higher than if you skipped, every 5% here and there and it fell apart. Cool, man. Yeah, it's good though. Keep us in the loop next month when we have this one. Keep us in the loop on how it's going, if we can help you more.
Thank you.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I got a boogie to work. I literally have a patient in like 30 minutes. I'm going to be late. So appreciate you guys as always. Sorry to cut it short a little bit, but we'll put this up. And then next month, when people are calming down from competitions, we'll get a lot more people in here. We'll probably change the time a little bit. The people in London, the UK are very upset with us that we're doing it in the middle of the day. So we'll work it out. But sorry, international friends, you'll have your time. All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.